"Look at this woman, treating the emergency room like her personal VIP lounge," Dr. Vanessa Caldwell muttered under her breath, as Malik Sterling's feverish cries echoed through the sterile corridors of Crestview Medical Center. The night air was thick with tension, the low hum of fluorescent lights mingling with distant beeps of machines and the restless murmurs of patients and staff. Outside, the cold February wind rattled against the windows, reminding those inside of the harsh world waiting beyond the hospital's walls. Amara Sterling tightened her grip on Malik's small hand, her heart pounding not only from fear for her son, but from the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. She had seen this look before, a mixture of disdain, impatience, and quiet assumption. The kind of look that erased humanity and replaced it with suspicion. Yet, tonight was different. Tonight she would not bow to invisible forces. Tonight, she was not just a mother pleading for her child. She was a woman who carried years of quiet strength and battles, won behind closed doors. Her thoughts drifted momentarily to a time long ago, to a dusty courtroom in the heart of Atlanta, where her grandmother had once stood firm against segregation. The echoes of those fights whispered to her now, urging calm, urging resilience. The soft rustle of Malik's fevered breath against her blazer was a fragile reminder of why she had to be strong. His fever had soared beyond 103 degrees. His small frame was burning with heat beneath his crisp New Hope preparatory school uniform, now damp with sweat. As they stepped toward the reception desk, Dr. Vanessa Caldwell intercepted them with a voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Insurance verification. I need to see it before any treatment," she declared, folding her arms with an air of authority. Her eyes flicked dismissively over Amara's expensive tailored coat and Malik's uniform, registering what she assumed were signs of manipulation. Amara reached calmly into her leather handbag, pulling out a sleek navy blue card emblazoned with the Sterling Health Network's emblem, the Platinum Blue Cross Executive Preferred card, a symbol reserved for the elite. Her voice, measured but firm, filled the room. "This is valid insurance, and my son requires immediate care." Vanessa's lips curled into a smirk that did not reach her eyes. "We require $2,000 upfront, cash only. That's hospital policy," she said loudly, projecting the words so everyone could hear. A few heads turned. Phones began to lift. A murmur of disapproval rippled through the waiting room, some curious, some sympathetic. Amara's calm did not waver. She shifted Malik closer, feeling the heat radiate through his thin uniform shirt. From across the room, Nurse Lena Morales watched with concern. She had worked at Crestview for 6 years and had seen too many moments like this, patients judged not by their need, but by their appearance or assumed status. Her gaze lingered on Amara's composed figure, the subtle tension in her jaw betraying the exhaustion beneath her dignified exterior. Meanwhile, Security Officer Elijah Barnes stood near the entrance, his arms crossed as he observed the unfolding scene. His daughter attended the same school as Malik, and the painful parallels weighed heavily on him. The night administrator, Carol Benton, hovered close to Vanessa, backing the physician's demands with bureaucratic rigidity. Amara's voice lowered to a near whisper as she raised her phone and began streaming the interaction live. "We deserve to be heard," she said softly, her words resonating beyond the walls as thousands began watching online. The screen count climbed steadily. The atmosphere thickened with unease. Some patients shifted in their seats, while others discreetly raised their phones to record. The air was heavy with the collective weight of silent witnesses. Vanessa leaned closer, her voice dripping with condescension. "Look at her, playing the executive card like it means something here. Probably doesn't even live in this neighborhood." Her words were sharp, designed to wound and isolate. But Amara held her ground, her eyes steady and unwavering. She thought of Malik's frightened gaze, of every moment of denial they had faced before. This was not just about her son anymore. It was about every family who had been reduced to a statistic, dismissed because of the color of their skin or the assumptions of those in power. A sudden buzz in the room drew everyone's attention, a loud ping as Malik whimpered softly, clutching at his mother's jacket. His small voice barely audible over the crowd. "Mommy, my head hurts really bad." The plaintive plea broke through the tension, a stark reminder of the stakes at hand. The seconds stretched long. Vanessa's smirk faltered ever so slightly, but the mask of authority remained. Nurse Morales stepped forward tentatively, offering a quiet but firm word to the security guard. Elijah met her gaze and nodded slowly. The moment to act was drawing near. Amara's phone camera captured every glance, every whisper, every pause. The digital clock above the nurse's station ticked steadily. Time was running out. The room was silent except for Malik's labored breathing and the low hum of whispered prayers. Amara's mind raced, weighing every option. This fight was bigger than the moment, bigger than the hospital walls. It was a fight for dignity, for justice, for recognition. She glanced briefly at the framed photograph on the wall, a black and white image of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., his gaze steady and resolute. A quiet reminder that progress demanded courage. Her lips pressed into a firm line. Tonight, she would be that courage. "Let's show them who we really are," she whispered, her voice steady despite the storm inside. The live stream viewer count ticked higher, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 voices rising in support across the city and beyond. And in that charged moment, the stage was set, the battle lines drawn. The night would test not just a mother's love, but the very soul of a system. The night administrator's office was dimly lit, the pale glow of computer screens casting long shadows over Carol Benton's furrowed brow. Outside, the waiting room had transformed into a crucible of tension phones, lifted high, faces fixed with a mix of disbelief and resolve. Officer Elijah Barnes leaned against the security desk, arms crossed tightly, wrestling with the weight of his choice. The hospital's sterile walls, usually a backdrop for healing and hope, now bore witness to a fracture within its very foundation. Carol paced the length of the room, her polished shoes clicking sharply against the worn linoleum floor. "This isn't just a breach of policy, it's a public relations nightmare," she muttered, her voice strained with a mixture of fear and defiance. Elijah's gaze never wavered from the figure of Amara Sterling, standing firm with her son Malik nestled against her hip. Malik's small face was flushed and damp, his eyelids heavy with fever, but there was a fire in Amara's eyes that no exhaustion could dim. She spoke quietly into her phone, her tone calm and commanding. "Margaret, we need the legal team here immediately. This is no longer just a hospital issue." In the hallways beyond, Nurse Lena Morales felt her pulse quicken. She had seen the quiet, persistent bruises of bias throughout her 6 years at Crestview Medical Center. But tonight's confrontation was different. It was raw, exposed, impossible to ignore. She exchanged a brief, understanding glance with Dr. Marcus Ellis as he returned from suturing a severe injury in Treatment Room 7. Marcus's eyes were sharp, his posture rigid with professionalism, but beneath it lay the same simmering indignation she felt. Vanessa Caldwell paced near the nurse's station, her usual air of command slipping as she caught the escalating live stream numbers flashing across her phone. She barked orders with less conviction, the veneer of control cracking. "We cannot let this spiral," she insisted, but even her voice trembled with the knowledge that the tide was turning against her. Carol Benton's phone buzzed incessantly as she scrambled to coordinate with union representatives and legal counsel, the walls closing in with each call. The carefully maintained order of the emergency room was unraveling before her eyes. Elijah Barnes removed his radio from his belt and placed it deliberately on the counter, a quiet act of rebellion that resonated throughout the room. "I'm not removing anyone tonight," he said firmly, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "Not on my watch." A murmur of surprise rippled among the staff and patients. The air shifted. The collective energy of hundreds of witnesses, both in the hospital and streaming across the city, coalesced into a palpable force. Amara's phone buzzed insistently. With a measured breath, she answered on speaker. "Margaret, how soon can the team be here?" The reply came swift and professional. "We are assembling now, ma'am. Legal is on site within minutes, and the board has been alerted." From her vantage point near the entrance, the hospital's night security cameras captured every moment. The live stream swelled past 10,000 viewers, comments flooding in with calls for justice, outrage, and support. The hashtag #JusticeForMalik for Malik was trending, gaining momentum across platforms. It was no longer a private conflict, it was a public reckoning. Amara held Malik closer, feeling the heat of his fever radiate against her body. Despite her exhaustion, she felt a surge of resolve. This was more than her son's fight. It was a stand against decades of silent complicity. In a quiet corner, Dr. Marcus Ellis approached Amara gently. "I will personally oversee Malik's care," he assured her. "No more delays." Amara nodded, gratitude softening the lines of tension on her face. She glanced around the room, noting the faces watching the young mother clutching a child nearby. The elderly man who had shifted uneasily when Vanessa spoke. The cluster of college students recording the scene, all bearing witness. Carol Benton's hands trembled as she signed off another urgent email. The veneer of administrative control was slipping fast. Every second brought more scrutiny, more pressure. Elijah Barnes met Nurse Morales' eyes and offered a small, tired smile. "Sometimes doing the right thing costs everything," he said quietly. "But doing the wrong thing costs more." Lena nodded, her heart swelling with a mix of fear and hope. This was a turning point. As the first legal team members arrived, the tension in the room was electric, a storm waiting to break. The night outside deepened, but inside Crestview Medical Center, a new dawn was rising. Amara's voice, steady and clear, cut through the charged silence. "Margaret, keep the board ready. It's time they see the truth." The waiting room held its breath. And then, the live stream went viral. The name Sterling Health Network echoed quietly at first, then thundered across the crowded emergency room, rippling through the crowd like a seismic wave. Amara Sterling stood tall, the leather-bound portfolio open in her hands, gold embossing catching the harsh fluorescent lights as every eye in the room turned toward her. The murmurs swelled into gasps and whispers. Her calm, measured voice filled the air with undeniable authority. The years of quiet battles and unseen triumphs crystallized in this moment. Here she was, not just a desperate mother pleading for her child's life, but the woman who owned more than half of Crestview Medical Center. The CEO and chairman who controlled the very institution that had attempted to deny her son care. Vanessa Caldwell's confident smirk faltered as the weight of the revelation crashed down. The same doctor who had wielded her authority as a weapon now found herself exposed, powerless beneath the gaze of hundreds of witnesses. Her composure cracked. A tremor betrayed her panic as the reality of the consequences settled like a stone in her gut. Amara's eyes swept over the stunned crowd, patients, nurses, doctors, administrators all caught in a moment of reckoning. Phones zoomed in, capturing every detail, live streams exploding as the viewer count surged past 45,000. Comments flooded social media, cries for justice echoing across platforms as the hashtag #ShorterJusticeForMalik climbed rapidly toward national trending lists. From the sidelines, Nurse Lena Morales felt a mixture of relief and validation. She had suspected something was deeply wrong the moment Amara arrived, and now the truth was unfolding in full. Nearby, Dr. Marcus Ellis stood ready, his professional duty clear. Ensure Malik received care without further delay. Legal counsel was already mobilizing. Simone Price's voice crackled crisply through Amara's speakerphone, coordinating with hospital administration and the board of directors. The emergency video conference had begun. Board members from across states appearing on high-definition screens, their faces a blend of concern and calculation. Malik shifted weakly in Amara's arms, the fever still burning, but the promise of immediate care was a balm to the mother's frayed nerves. She brushed damp hair from his forehead, whispering assurances laced with hope and determination. Vanessa Caldwell retreated toward the nurse's station, her every step heavy with defeat. Carol Benton's hurried phone calls betrayed her desperation. The walls of bureaucracy crumbled beneath mounting legal and public pressure. The tension peaked when Amara addressed Dr. Caldwell directly, her voice low but steel-hard. "You have exactly one choice: resign tonight with a professional reference, or face termination for cause. The evidence is indisputable." Her words hung in the air, precise and unyielding. The live stream froze this moment in time, a defining instant of accountability. Outside, city news vans arrived, their cameras trained on the hospital's entrance as reporters prepared for the story that would captivate a nation. Inside, the emergency room shifted from battleground to theater of justice. Every witness, every recorded second was now part of a growing narrative, a challenge to systemic bias in healthcare writ large. Amara's phone buzzed relentlessly, incoming calls from news networks, community leaders, and supporters flooding her screen. She answered with quiet grace, knowing this was only the beginning. The digital clock above the nurse's station ticked steadily toward 3 a.m., signaling the arrival of a new day and the promise of change. Amara's gaze met Malik's briefly. His eyes, tired but trusting, anchored her resolve. The hashtag Justice for Malik surged into the top 3 nationwide. The hospital's reputation teetered on the edge of transformation, and then the fever spiked higher. The hum of machines filled the bright treatment room, punctuated by the steady beeping of monitors and the soft rustle of medical staff, moving with practiced urgency. Malik lay nestled in Dr. Amara Sterling's arms, his small body burning with fever that had climbed dangerously high. The cold, sterile air of Crestview Medical Center contrasted sharply with the warmth of a mother's love and the fierce determination that radiated from Amara. Dr. Marcus Ellis worked swiftly, his hand steady as he adjusted the IV drip, delivering fluids and antibiotics. He glanced up at Amara with a reassuring smile. "We're doing everything we can," he said softly. "His symptoms indicate severe dehydration and an acute infection. But with this treatment, we expect a full recovery." Amara nodded, her eyes never leaving Malik's flushed face. Each shallow breath, each faint murmur was a reminder of how fragile her son was, and how urgent the fight remained. Outside the treatment room, the storm unleashed by the evening's events had not abated. News vans swarmed the hospital's entrance, their bright lights piercing the night as reporters scrambled to capture every detail. Inside the hospital administration offices, Carol Benton sat at her desk, the weight of impending consequences heavy on her shoulders. The endless stream of phone calls from union representatives, legal advisors, and frantic colleagues underscored the crumbling foundation beneath her years of steady employment. Every call chipped away at the career she had built, now jeopardized by a moment of moral failure broadcast live to tens of thousands. Meanwhile, Dr. Vanessa Caldwell retreated into the quiet of the hospital cafeteria, the hum of the vending machines a stark contrast to the chaos. Her hands trembled slightly as she stared at her phone's screen, the viral footage and social media condemnation piling up relentlessly. She was no longer the confident authority figure. She was a cautionary tale unfolding in real time. Back in the treatment room, Nurse Lena Morales offered a gentle touch to Malik's fevered forehead, her voice calm but filled with genuine concern. "He's strong," she said. "He's going to get through this." Her role as patient advocate had taken on new meaning tonight. She was not just a nurse, but a guardian of dignity amid the storm. Officer Elijah Barnes passed by the room quietly, his expression resolute. His decision to refuse orders that would have removed Amara and Malik had been a defining moment, one that would ripple throughout the hospital and beyond. The weight of that choice lingered in his mind, mingling pride with the sober reality of the battle still ahead. The legal team, led by Simone Price, had arrived in full force. Their presence was unmistakable, a signal to hospital administration that this incident would be met with swift, uncompromising action. Simone coordinated closely with Amara, ensuring that every piece of evidence was secured, every witness accounted for, and every legal avenue prepared. As Malik's fever finally began to subside, a collective sigh of relief echoed quietly within the room. The immediate medical crisis was being overcome, but the institutional reckoning had only just begun. The hospital's board convened an emergency video conference, faces flickering across screens from homes and offices in multiple states. Their discussions were somber, but decisive comprehensive reforms would be implemented immediately, starting with the firing of Dr. Caldwell and Carol Benton. A new protocol, soon to be known as the Sterling Protocol, was drafted, encompassing bias detection systems, mandatory retraining, and patient advocacy improvements. Outside the walls of Crestview Medical Center, community activists and patient advocacy groups mobilized, galvanized by the viral footage and Amara's leadership. Conversations about systemic racism in healthcare surged through town halls, social media, and local gatherings. The story had transcended the hospital, igniting a broader call for justice and reform. Amara, exhausted but unyielding, reflected quietly on the path ahead. Her son's recovery was a beacon of hope, but the real victory would be systemic, changing the very structures that allowed discrimination to fester in the first place. Her phone rang again this time, a call from Senator Patricia Johnson, inviting Amara to testify before the Senate Healthcare Committee. The invitation was both an honor and a call to greater responsibility. Malik stirred gently in her arms, his eyes fluttering open, still fragile but steady. Amara's voice was steady, filled with resolve. "This is just the beginning." The morning sun filtered softly through the tall windows of the United States Senate hearing room in Washington, D.C., casting long shadows across the polished mahogany table where Dr. Amara Sterling prepared to speak. The room was filled with the quiet murmur of aides arranging papers, senators settling into their seats, and the low buzz of cameras capturing the historic moment. The air carried the weight of expectation, the gravity of change palpable. Amara adjusted the microphone, her heart steady, but her mind racing. This was no ordinary testimony. It was a culmination of years of struggle, countless moments of quiet endurance, and tonight's fierce battle fought not just in the halls of Crestview Medical Center, but across the nation. She glanced briefly at Malik, who sat beside her, his small fingers gripping hers tightly. Though only 9 years old, Malik embodied the very hope that had driven her fight for justice. As the committee chairwoman called the session to order, Amara's voice rang clear and resolute. Every patient deserves dignity. Every family deserves respect. No one should ever face discrimination when seeking medical care. Her words echoed through the chamber, touching senators who had heard countless testimonies, but few that carried the raw power of lived experience, combined with corporate authority. She recounted the events at Crestview Medical Center, the denial of care, the racial profiling, the viral exposure that forced accountability. But beyond the incident, she laid out a vision. The Sterling Protocol, a comprehensive approach to eliminating bias in healthcare through real-time detection systems, mandatory staff retraining, and transparency. Senator Patricia Johnson leaned forward, her voice steady and supportive. Dr. Sterling, your leadership has sparked a national conversation. How do you envision federal policy building on this momentum? Amara's reply was thoughtful, emphasizing the necessity of legislation requiring bias detection technology in every hospital receiving federal funding. She spoke of partnerships with medical schools to incorporate anti-discrimination training into their core curricula, and the creation of community watchdog groups empowered through digital tools to report inequities. The testimony was met with bipartisan applause, the committee signaling readiness to advance the Healthcare Equity and Patient Dignity Act. Cameras flashed as news crews captured Amara's poised exit, her presence a symbol of progress and hope. Back in Atlanta, Crestview Medical Center buzzed with renewed energy. The Sterling Protocol was in full effect. Artificial intelligence systems monitored every interaction, flagging potential bias before it could manifest. Staff participated in rigorous retraining programs, while patient advocacy roles expanded, led by nurse Lena Morales, now promoted to coordinator. Malik returned to New Hope Preparatory School, his steps light and free from the shadow of illness. Though unaware of his place in history, his laughter on the soccer field was a melody of triumph over adversity. Meanwhile, Dr. Vanessa Caldwell's medical license review continued, her future in medicine uncertain. Carol Benton had accepted a position at a small rural clinic, her salary halved, a stark reminder of the personal cost of complicity. The story of Crestview Medical Center became a case study in medical ethics classes, a beacon for hospitals nationwide. The hashtag, one toward justice for Malik, remained a rallying cry, inspiring communities to demand equity and accountability. At a White House ceremony, President Joseph Biden signed the Healthcare Equity and Patient Dignity Act into law, with Amara and Malik in attendance. The room filled with applause and tears, the moment a testament to what courage, resilience, and quiet strength could achieve. As Malik kicked a soccer ball across the White House lawn, Amara watched with pride. The journey had been long and fraught, but the future was bright, built on the foundation of dignity, justice, and the unwavering power of a mother's love. The story of Amara Sterling and her son, Malik, is not just a tale of one family's struggle in a hospital emergency room. It is a profound journey through the shadows of systemic injustice toward the light of dignity and reform. It began in the cold, sterile halls of Crestview Medical Center, where a mother's quiet strength was met with suspicion, prejudice, and outright denial of care. The fever burning in Malik's small body became a symbol, a reminder that beneath the surface of policy and procedure lies the very real human cost of bias left unchecked. From the first moment Dr. Vanessa Caldwell questioned Amara's legitimacy and demanded cash up front, the story exposed the raw wounds inflicted by systemic racism disguised as hospital protocol. The indignity was not merely personal, it was emblematic of countless others who have faced similar dehumanization in healthcare and beyond. Yet, through this injustice, Amara's resilience shone a steady beacon of calm resolve and strategic brilliance. She did not erupt in anger. She did not retreat in despair. Instead, she quietly gathered her strength, wielding her corporate authority not for revenge, but for transformative justice. Her decision to live-stream the encounter, inviting the gaze of thousands, was a masterstroke turning private prejudice into public accountability. It was a call to witnesses, an invitation to society to refuse complacency. In that act, Amara became more than a mother. She became a symbol of the power that dignity and courage can wield in the face of systemic oppression. The allies who emerged Officer Elijah Barnes, refusing to enforce unjust orders, Nurse Lena Morales standing as patient advocate, Dr. Marcus Ellis prioritizing care, reminded us all that moral courage is contagious, that change requires collective bravery. The climax, where Amara revealed her identity as CEO and majority owner of the hospital, shattered the illusion of authority held by the antagonists. It was a seismic reversal that forced those complicit in discrimination to confront the truth, not only of their actions, but of the system that enabled them. The ripple effect extended far beyond the walls of Crestview, igniting legal reforms, institutional overhauls, and even federal legislation. The birth of the Sterling Protocol, with its real-time bias detection and mandatory staff retraining, marked a new chapter in healthcare equity, one where respect is embedded in the very fabric of care. Yet, the story is not merely about policy change. It is about the profound difference between superficial rules and genuine human respect. Policies can mandate procedures, but they cannot mandate empathy. The courage it takes to confront prejudice, especially when it is cloaked in authority and tradition, is immense. It demands not only strength, but wisdom, patience, and an unwavering commitment to justice. Amara Sterling's journey exemplifies this truth, showing us that true change arises not from anger alone, but from measured, strategic action paired with a deep, unshakable dignity. The antagonists in this story, Dr. Caldwell and Carol Benton, represent the dangers of conscious and unconscious bias, the ways in which fear and prejudice can corrupt professional duty. Their fall from grace is a sobering reminder that complicity, whether through action or silence, carries consequences. Yet their story is also a cautionary tale, a call for ongoing self-reflection and systemic vigilance in institutions entrusted with public care. Above all, the allies, the nurses, security officers, legal teams, and even the millions of viewers who witnessed the live stream demonstrate the profound impact of speaking truth to power. Allyship is not passive. It is an active, sometimes costly choice to stand beside the marginalized, to elevate their voices, and to demand accountability. It is a reminder that justice is a collective endeavor, requiring the participation of many to dismantle entrenched systems of oppression. As Malik's fever broke and he recovered, the immediate crisis passed, but the legacy of that night endures. The reforms seeded at Crestview Medical Center have blossomed into a movement, a nationwide insistence that healthcare must serve all with equity, respect, and compassion. Medical schools now teach the lessons learned. Insurance companies recognize the value of equitable care. Patients are empowered with tools to report discrimination instantly. The story that began in a crowded emergency room has reshaped policies, attitudes, and lives. This narrative resonates deeply with those who have lived through America's long journey toward civil rights and equality. It speaks to the enduring struggle against injustice, the importance of dignity in every human interaction, and the hope that comes from courageous leadership. It reminds us that while progress may be slow and arduous, it is possible, and that each individual holds the power to spark change. The philosophy remains clear. Justice delayed is not justice denied, it is justice amplified. When the silent become witnesses, when quiet strength meets systemic challenge, when individual courage ignites collective action, profound transformation follows. Amara Sterling's story teaches us that dignity is not given. It is claimed, fought for, and defended. It is the foundation upon which a just society is built. If you have witnessed discrimination or injustice in healthcare or any other area of life, your voice matters. Sharing your experience can illuminate unseen biases and inspire others to demand fairness. Together, we can create a world where every person is treated with the respect and humanity they deserve. If you found this story meaningful, please leave a comment with the number 1. Subscribe to our channel to hear more stories of resilience, justice, and the power of standing up for what is right. Because every story deserves to be heard, and every person deserves dignity.